a mosque is under attack by the far right. Now, as I mentioned many times before, that violence is not the means of protecting ourselves. Violence is not the way of protecting our interests or the interests of others. The far right have resorted to violence based upon misinformation. So previously I warned many young Muslims with regard to protests of masked people outside police stations shouting Allahu Akbar. Why are they masked? What do they have to hide? And people who attempt to carry out illegal acts of violence or vandalism against the police. And the far right was condemning the Muslim youth for doing that, saying, why are those Muslim youth assaulting the police? So we had the Manchester incident, which is for the courts to decide what actually occurred. But the far right utilized that and the Rochdale protests in order to discriminate Muslims or colored people, people of any shades of skin other than white, or people who are from any different ethnic background. And then there was, of course, the sad incident in Southport where young innocent children were killed by a maniac, someone under the age of 18, but a maniac who killed 3 young children and attempted to kill others, children as well as adults. And a rumor spread that the person who had actually murdered those young children was a Muslim. Based upon those false reports, people from the far right, they arrived in Southport and threw bricks at the police, injuring many police officers. Some of them were so imbecilic that they even threw bricks at their own people. There are videos where a man is being struck in the head, struck in the private parts by his own fellows from the far right. These numbskulls, after attacking the police, and of course they were not from the region of Southport, they were from other regions. They based their attack on the masjid, on the mosque, upon a false report that the young man who had killed those young girls was actually a Muslim or a radicalized Muslim belonging to some of these terrorist groups. But of course, that was not the case. The name of the person was revealed afterwards by the judge to diffuse any community tensions. And remember, the people of Southport came together. Young, white, British men and young, colored British men whose genes may go back to other parts of the world. But if many of you white people had your DNA tested, you will find so many different genetic backgrounds. There is no one who is purely genetically from the island of Britain. Even the royal family has genetics in Germany. Many of you, if you checked your genetics, they go back to France and Europe and other parts of the world. Even people within the ruling elite, some of them have their genetics within Mongols. Yes, back to Genghis Khan. So do not talk to me about indigenous people. If you want to become that pedantic, then the Celtic people will claim to be the sole rightful heirs of the island of Britain, of Scotland and England and Wales and Ireland. But of course, no one is genetically pure. But white people who may claim to be Anglo-Saxon, but then of course the Normans invaded. Many of you right-wingers, you need to actually read a book in history that you had the Anglo-Saxons ruling this beautiful island, and then the Normans invaded in 1066. Then who are the rightful heirs of Britain? But of course, young white people some of whom may even have genetics going back to Ireland, and young coloured people who happen to have a British passport also, they united and constructed some of the walls that were damaged within Southport and united and worked together. So racism is a cop-out, judging someone based on the colour of their skin. Of course, when someone realizes that racism, meaning prejudice based upon the colour of someone's skin or the clothes that they wear or the language that they may speak, prejudice based upon this is a cop-out. Why is it a cop-out? So many white people, they settle in France, they cannot speak French. So many white people, they settle in Spain, they cannot speak Spanish. So many expats settle in UAE, they cannot speak Arabic. For years, for decades, so many expats live in Saudi Arabia, they cannot speak Arabic. Yet the Arabs do not denigrate them. The Arabs, as far as I know, the Arabs do not demonstrate racism towards them because they cannot speak Arabic. So why should some English people show racism towards people who cannot perfect their English? This type of xenophobia is very backwards because there are so many English expats that live across the world. There is no xenophobia towards the color of their skin. There is no xenophobia towards the clothes that they may wear. There is no xenophobia towards the language they may speak. And there is no xenophobia towards the Christianity they may espouse or the non-religion that they may espouse, the atheists or the skeptics. Of course, Tommy Robinson is as Christian as a Hindu pundit, meaning he has no Christianity. Tommy Robinson is not Christian. He cannot even understand a passage of the Bible. So do not even hijack Christianity. So these attacks that are carried out on the basis of ignorance, the name came out. His name wasn't Ali. His name wasn't Muhammad, which is a beautiful name. His name wasn't Abdullah. His name was Axel, a Christian name, which doesn't mean that Christians are killers. He was black African origin. It doesn't mean black people are killers. He was born in Wales. It doesn't mean anyone born in Wales is a killer. But nevertheless, the right wing, led by Tommy Robinson, led by the likes of Tommy, that only induce hatred and state incendiary things in order to ignite racial warfare. It turns out that his name was Axel, a Christian, of course, with Rwandan origins. And remember, Rwanda is a majority Christian country. It doesn't matter whether he was a Christian to us as Muslims. The crime that he carried out, he will be punished by the law of the land, by the courts, by the justice system, and he will be rightfully jailed like Anjem Chaudhry was jailed and like any criminal is jailed. So these sentiments that I have mentioned, I would want to mention that some of the old English men who are born in the 1950s and 1960s and state that they remember when their road was all white as snowflakes, and they want England to go back to being white skinned. Remember, skin tone is something that varies in all places. You have light-skinned Muslims in Bosnia, you have light-skinned Muslims in Syria, you have light-skinned Muslims in various places of the world. This demonstrates your shallow thinking, that you judge a person by the color of his skin, or the clothes that he may wear, or the language he may speak. Sometimes a person who cannot speak English may be more educated because he may speak Farsi, Urdu, Arabic, Afrikaner, so many different languages. He could be so educated. And you will have the one person who may have mastered only one language from the underbelly of society, who can only express himself by throwing stones at the police officers. Those police officers who were injured, sadly, in the riots in Southport. And remember, I am consistent. I condemn Muslims who do the same, who attack the police, or Muslims who violate the law, or the likes of Anjum Chaudhry, who glorify terror, or who glorify killing of civilians, or who glorify targeting of civilians or carrying out terrorist attacks in any country. There is a consistency. But the right wing misinforms its public by telling them that the clerics are preaching hate in the masajid, in the mosques, or they are telling and ordering the Muslims to carry out terrorist attacks, or conflating issues. So this riot in Southport was based upon total ignorance. And of course now these events are unfolding. We have, remember one thing, when you have kebabs on a Friday night and chicken vindaloo on a Saturday night, and then protest against us, you have to know we love fish and chips with salt and vinegar. Desist from your narrow-minded racism. All of you right-wingers are welcome to our masajid to have a cup of tea and discuss issues peacefully. Why do you need to go outside the mosques and throw stones and cause community riots? You're welcome to have a cup of tea, an English cup of tea. Remember, cups of tea were founded during the British Indian Raj when you occupied the land of our forefathers. We gave you tea, and we offer you tea and peace and comfort, and come and discuss with us in the masjid. You can come to the mosque. Tommy Robinson, you can come to the mosque, have a good cup of tea. We make better tea than you would have ever tasted, and then discuss the issues. Why do you have to resort to violence? Why do you have to resort to hatred? And unfortunately, even educated or ostensibly educated people like Lord Pearson and his speech in the House of Lords. Now, before I get to Lord Pearson and his speech in the House of Lords, inshallah ta'ala, we will open up for questions and answers. Someone states to me that many of the far right are scared of mosques, or the people who are inside of mosques. This is a message to the far right. Do not be scared of our mosques. Do not be scared of us. You are welcome to come to our mosques to have a cup of tea. I personally will make the tea for you. Don't worry, it won't be poisoned. We give you good tea. We'll give you good kebabs. We'll give you good samosas. Tommy Robinson, come and have tea with us. Discuss it. Let's talk it out. Send your high profile intellectual members of EDL. Have an intellectual discussion. Point out to us what you think is wrong with Islam. And we will demonstrate to you that our religion is not a religion of violence. Our religion is not a religion that goes against coexistence. We have a 1400-year history and civilization. So you are welcome to our mosques, but in a peaceful manner. You do not need to throw bricks. You do not need to resort to violence. You can come and sit down, bring 100 EDL members to have tea. We'll serve them all from our kitchens. And remember, our kitchens serve real working class English people. Many of our mosques have fridges where working class people can have free food. There are many mosques that have this initiative across the UK. So stop misinforming simpleton English people who have no knowledge of our Islam or have zero interaction with us. There are many homeless people in our cities who will vouch for the Muslims and the Sikhs and the Christians that provide them with food on a weekly basis. English people, Irish people, Scottish people. So stop this false propaganda within the United Kingdom. Before going on to the questions and answers, I wouldn't want to remind you of two more things. Aside from Vindaloo being the national dish of Britain, we Muslims have always coexisted with the Jewish people in the majority of our history, but it was the Christians who did not. And that was one of the main reasons why Israel was established. It was a form of NIMBYism to export the Jewish people out of Europe, out of Britain, out of the United States, export them to another place, to a foreign place known as Palestine. And that is why the Germans today support Israel. Why the Germans do not want Jews back in Germany. Germany has a policy to support the state of Israel to the point that people need to sign support for Israel if they accept a German passport. Because the Germans do not want those Jews back in Germany. They want to export Jews. And the Muslims, on the other hand, coexisted with the Jewish people. While Christianity has a long history of persecution of Jewish people, we Muslims coexisted with Christians and Jews within the Middle East. So these are things which are, of course, ignored.